Hey everybody, this is Tim from the Tim and Franicia family YouTube channel, and I'm going to be talking about kettlebell deadlifts and kettlebell squats today. But before I get to kettlebell deadlifts and squats, I just want to talk about the mechanics of good squat and a good deadlift. Some of the things that you want to keep in mind when you do squats and deadlifts is your back position, your neck position, and where your hips are, especially at the bottom, and then where the weight is concentrated. Your back should always be in a kind of a neutral back position. Your neck and head should be in a neutral position, not down and not arched back like that. We'll talk about the bottom in just a second, but throughout the whole exercise, the weight should be on your heels. If you allow the weight to go on your toes, then that really causes a lot of strain to be focused on the front of your knees, and that's not a good place. If you do that, you'll feel pressure, you may feel pain, and that's a bad sign. So keeping the weight on your heels will keep that pain from happening. There are some exercises where you will elevate your heels. Sometimes people will do squats and they'll use like a barbell plate to elevate their heels, and that's kind of an advanced exercise, and it's more for building different parts of your leg. You know, you may see people doing certain exercises where they're not keeping their weight on the heels, and it's because they're trying to develop their bodies for bodybuilding, most likely. Anyway, just for general good health, keep that weight on your heels. So when you go down, especially in a squat, realize that you can go too low when you do a squat. Some people say, well, you need to get down as low as humanly possible. It's not necessarily the case, because a lot of times if you go down too low, your pelvis will start rotating and your back will start arching in a way that will put more weight on the front of your vertebrae, and that's where you get into herniated discs and that kind of stuff. That's also not good. When you go down, your chest should be proud, head in a neutral position, keeping the weight on the back of your heels, and hinging at your hips where you're driving your hips back, and you're going down to about where you feel like your pelvis wants to start rotating. If you go down lower, then you can see my pelvis starts rotating and my back loses that natural arch that it had before. Even when I do that, it doesn't feel good, because that's not a good healthy position to do exercise. So this is for bodyweight squats or kettlebell squats. When you do your squat, go down to where you feel your pelvis wants to rotate and then back up. So you're driving with your heels, and some people can go lower than others. You may have limited range of motion because of your knees, because of your hips. That's okay, but make sure that you're doing it with good form and taking care of your body and listening to your body, because if your body is saying that something hurts, you know, it's different if it's a muscle tightness. That's something that you can work on. If it's a joint issue, then it's probably something you want to talk to your doctor about, but also just be mindful as you're exercising that you're not putting your joints in a bad place. So again, chest proud, head in a neutral position. I'm keeping the weight on my heels, driving my hips back to that lowest position, and then drive my hips forward. So you can do this with body weight as you practice. Just practice doing that good motion and getting used to that feel of the lowest point of your squat. And for me, I can feel kind of the way that my hip creases, and that's my indication that I've reached the lowest point in my squat. So with a kettlebell, the way that looks, you can either do a single kettlebell or double kettlebell. I'll demonstrate it with a single kettlebell. You can hold the kettlebell by the horns, or hold it like this. Sometimes I like holding it like this because it can be easier. So down, back up. Again, chest proud, down, back up. And then for double kettlebell, we talked about the kettlebell clean in our last video. We'll link that in the description. But in the kettlebell clean, you're swinging the kettlebell, pulling it back, and getting it into a rack position. That rack position is kind of similar to a front squat if you were doing a barbell squat. But when you're in the rack position, you should be kind of pulling your shoulders back and getting the weight of that kettlebell as close to the vertical axis of your body as possible. You don't want it to go forward, and if you're doing a squat and you're not pulling your shoulders back, those kettlebells can start falling forward, and it'll also get the weight on your toes, and that's not what you want. So we'll clean the kettlebells, rack position, shoulders back, chest proud, head in a neutral position, and then squat, back up, squat, back up. For deadlift, It's pretty similar to a squat, except just the weight's not going to be up high. The weight's going to be down low. And so usually with a deadlift, you're not going to get nearly as low as you do with a squat, just because you're holding the weight down low and the weight eventually is going to touch the ground. With a deadlift, still you want to keep your chest proud, head in a neutral position. You know, when I say neutral, I mean don't let it go down and don't arch it like that, because that'll cause an unnatural arch in your back. So with a kettlebell, again, also with the weight should be focused on your heels. With a single kettlebell, my head is in neutral position. The kettlebell weight is between my feet, and just stand up with the weight. Again, you're hinging at your hips. So this is a normal deadlift. There is another exercise called a straight leg deadlift, and we can cover that in another video. You can do it either with one kettlebell or with two kettlebells. And two kettlebells is pretty much the same. You're just going to have to widen your legs a little bit to make room. So stand up with the weight. And one thing I try to think about is picking a spot probably about 3 or 4 feet in front of my feet, where my gaze is going to be focused at the bottom of that deadlift. Just gives me something to think about so that I don't allow my head to go down, and I don't do that with my head. So that's about it for kettlebell squats and kettlebell deadlifts. Right now, kettlebells are a great tool to be using because they're so flexible. You can do so many exercises with a kettlebell. And one great thing about kettlebell exercises is it puts strain on your whole body. So when I'm doing a press, I'm doing a squat, my whole body feels that strain, and that encourages muscle growth and strength development. And that's one reason why they're such a great tool. They're hard to get a hold of now, but if you have some, or if you're able to get a hold of some, then they're a great tool to be using when you're working out at home. If you have any questions, please leave those in the comments, and thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up, and if you didn't, then you can give us a thumbs down as well. But we'd love to know why you didn't like it, and hope to see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.